Hello everyone and welcome to Power Hour. I'm Laura Rogers and I have Joelle Jobson here.
Hello.
And this is our show. We've been doing most Wednesdays at 11 Central for about 8 years. And it started off as just SharePoint Power Hour, all about SharePoint, but we have everybody's moved to the cloud in the last 5 years or so. This is everything in Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Teams, PowerApps, Power Automate, all kinds of things you can do from a business user perspective. I do have an IT admin background, and but I don't do super technical. We did do a little PowerShell last time, but you don't have to have a super technical background to be able to understand things we do in Power Hour. So the thing that we're doing today is I send out a newsletter before Power Hour the day before, and everyone votes for what our topic should be. And last time we had the voting, it was neck and neck. It was list templates, SharePoint list templates, and the PowerApps Waffle menu. It was pretty much tied. So I just told everybody I would go ahead and do the PowerApps Waffle menu today. It seemed like a pretty exciting topic. So that's what we're doing, PowerApps Waffle menu, and it's a pretty simple concept, but I'm going to show 5 different ways you can do it. I'm going to show a way with buttons. I'm going to show a way that changes the color of the waffle menu and the buttons. I'm going to show a way you can do it with a container, a way that you can do it with a gallery, and then a way that you can do it animated so it goes out. So let's go ahead and get started. And we have a live chat going on. So wherever you're watching this video, there's going to be a button below to click to request to join. It's a form to fill out one time, and then once you join, it's held in Teams. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. And once you go to Teams, you go to our tenant. So you might have to toggle from at the top right from your tenant over to ours, and you just do that every Wednesday. You don't need a link every Wednesday to do this. You don't need to fill out the form more than once. But you toggle over to our tenant, and then in here you go to the Power Hour team, and then you go to the tab for that Power Hour, and then there's our chat. So, and then you can click the little chat bubble to make the chat go next to the video that you're watching. All right, so that's what we're doing. We're all in there chatting, and it's fun because it's live. You don't know what's going to happen. It's fun questions, discussion. So, waffle menus, they're magical, right, Joelle? Who knew? Okay, so let's see. I'll show you my 5 different. I've got 5 different screens of 5 different ways you can do this. You can be creative. This is a PowerApps Canvas app. You start off with a blank canvas. You can make it do whatever you want it to do, make it whatever colors you want, and kind of be styled however you want. But I'll just show you at least how all this functionality works. So that is a waffle menu. That's the concept of clicking a little icon of a waffle and having menu items come up. And then I'm going to show you another method of doing it. And I'm not going to click the links in the waffle menu because I don't want it to, because it's going to go from screen to screen, but I want to show you each screen and what I'm doing so that it doesn't just kind of jump from place to place. This is the one that more mimics what you see. So this is what you see in Microsoft 365. Let me drag this down a little bit. This is the waffle menu that's built into Microsoft 365. See how it turns, it's black and it turns white. The whole thing turns white, and then this changes color. So that's the kind of the concept that I was going for with this other one. And I might have to move you, Joelle, to be on the other side since I'm going to be talking about the waffle menu the whole time. I might have to move your little head, your little icon of your head. So wait, let me see. Let me just talk about these real quick. Okay. I just want that to be right there. Okay. So everything I'm going to be doing is in the top left. Okay. See, this one changes color, and they change color when you hover on them. So that's kind of cool. And then see, I'm going into preview on each screen instead of clicking in the navigation. So this one is the concept of a container menu. It's just, I just put more in menu items on it basically. And then this one is a gallery. I like gallery because it has more of a potential to be more of a dynamic list that you could just have listed automatically on all the screens of your app. So these are a bunch of screens of the same app, but the menus are all completely different. And this one, dun, 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 is the animated. Pretty cool. What do y'all think? What's your favorite so far? Of course, I'm going to save the animated one for last. Chris did that, and he put detailed instructions for me for this, because he built that. All right. So we'll go, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to, let's zoom out a little bit, just go create a new screen and build, just build this so you can see all the pieces. So it's not just all magically working. So you can see, well, you know, we've got a whole hour. It's pretty simple. But what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to start with a screen that's just got some kind of menu already at the top. Just this, the one that I used on all the other ones was the little screen template with a list on it. I'm just going to use a different one that's going to have an email interface on it. But it doesn't really matter. I just wanted to have one that has like this blue bar already there just to kind of cheat and have a little bit of it done for me. Okay, so I start off by inserting a waffle icon. Now, you don't have to use a waffle icon. You can use whatever icon you want. They don't have a little search box here when you're inserting an icon. So sometimes what you can do is if you want to look for the name of an icon like a waffle, you can just click just anything on here, and then when you go to this little icon property over here in the property panel, you can search for it there. Little tip of the day there. All right, so then I've got my waffle. I'm just going to drag it up to the corner and change the color to be white. And also I'm going to change the padding because I don't like how the edges go all the way the edges. I want it to, I'm just going to quickly put these as all 5s. I just want it to have a little space around it. So I changed the padding. All right, so then what I want to happen is when I click this button, I want the menu items to appear, right? So there are a lot of different things you can use as menu items. You can have, of course, buttons. You can have labels, rectangles. You could even do rectangles with icons on top of them, or buttons with icons on them, or just however you want it to look. But what I'm teaching today is just the functionality, at least at first, of what it needs to be able to do. So I'm just going to insert a button here. And a lot of times in these demos, I'll spend a lot of time like making these relative to each other and making them like one kind of looks at the height and the location of the other one to situate itself. So I'm not going to do a bunch of that. I'm just going to be kind of dragging things and putting them in the right place. So this is going to be my button. I'll just call it menu item 1. Just call it menu 1. And then what I'm going to do is take this, where is it? My border radius. I don't want it to have those little round corners because those look kind of weird with a menu item. So I just want the corners to be square. So that's why I changed the border radius to 0. All right, so now I've got my menu item. So now I've got it looking the way I want. I'll just copy and paste it to make another one, and I'll just put a couple of them on here. And you all ask questions as I go if you'd like. Menu 2. And then each of these items is going to, when you click it, it's going to navigate you somewhere. So it's going to be, you know, take me to some screen in my app. So each one is going to have an on select that navigates you to something. But the trick, the magical part, is just making these appear when somebody clicks the waffle. So what I'm going to do is in the on select for this waffle icon, go to the on select property, and I'm going to use a context variable, because context variable is a local variable that is local to that screen. So the cool thing about using a context variable when you're doing something like this, something that's like a generic concept that you're using across a bunch of multiple screens, is that you could use a global variable and have a bunch of different names of different global variables to represent each different menu on each different screen. But the context variable just keeps its value in the context of whatever screen you're on. So it makes it very simple to just use a context variable that's got the exact same name, that it's not going to carry its value across from screen to screen. So if one is going to be a Boolean, just true or false. So if I set this to true by clicking on it, it's not going to still be true when I go to another screen. So it gives you the ability to just start fresh each time you go to a different screen. So I'm going to call this, what I'm calling it is my CTX. I'm using CTX because it's a context variable. CTX. Oops, there we go. Just see what I called it on the other one real quick. Yeah, there we go. CTX Waffle 1 open is what I'm calling it. So let me just copy that real quick. Just going to copy the whole thing. Just remember what I called it. Okay. All right, so when I click it, I want the menu to appear, and then when I click it again, I want the menu to disappear. Or if I click on something on the menu, it's going to navigate me away. But each time I arrive on this screen, I want this variable, it's called CTX Waffle 1 open, I want it to be false. So this is going to be a Boolean variable. It's just true or false. So it is just open, or it's just on or not, showing or not. So when someone clicks this, I'm going to take whatever value is already in the variable and do the opposite so that I can click it and toggle it back and forth, and it appears and disappears. So I'm going to take, since it's a Boolean, I'm just going to put an exclamation mark in front of it. So the exclamation mark will just toggle it to the opposite. So if it's currently false, it will change it to true, vice versa. So what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that it always starts off as false. So on my screen, on the screen itself in the on visible, I'm going to say I want CTX Waffle open to be false. So as soon as you arrive on the screen, it's going to automatically make sure that the menu isn't already showing. So let's see. And then the visible property of all the things that are going to appear when you click the button, though the visible property just needs to be the value of that variable. CTX Waffle 1 open there. Okay, now let's go see what happens. So I'm gonna go away from this screen and go back to it, and then go look at the variable. See, it says screen 1 CTX Waffle open is false. That's good. That's what I want it to be. And then I'm going to preview this and click on it and look at that. Now I clicked on it. Let's go look at the variable. And now it says true. That means it's showing. All right. And then I can preview it. I'm going to click it again. So now it just disappears and reappears. And I'm going to, this item, I actually made it so that it goes to something. Oh, and the whole hover thing, that just is built in buttons. Buttons automatically have a different hover color. That's what I like about buttons compared to labels. Labels don't even have a hover concept. They don't have a hover property at all. So I just clicked the menu, that first item that I had navigate me to this other screen, and it navigated me. And then when I go back to my screen 1, now it's reset itself back to false. So that's all it is. If you tuned in just to learn the concept of making a waffle menu appear, that's all there is. It's just a variable. It's just something appearing, disappearing, and reappearing. All right. No. So I'm done. All right. Okay, so that's the first one. So then the other concept, so that's the concept that I built on this screen buttons, the one that I called SCR buttons. And it's just several buttons that appear. And then it's going to take me to this other screen is the next one I'll show you. And it's a little more fancy. This is the more where I was trying to mock up what you have built in to Microsoft 365. So when you click, it turns white, and then it just looks slightly different, so the colors kind of reverse themselves. So the way I achieve this...
oh, sorry.
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Somebody asked, are context variables static?
Static? Well, it is a variable, so inherently it is not static. If it was static, you wouldn't be using a variable. So the variable changes. It just is not going to carry across. When I click this and change it to true, that value of the variable, when I go to another screen, it's not going to still be true. So that's the thing about... What was that?
So they may have been asking that, like what you just said.
Yeah.
That may have been what was meant by static.
So the global variable is the one that you would want to use if you want to take a variable value and like have it go with you no matter where you are in the app. Context variables are actually slightly more efficient, but they're not, every time you use a variable in PowerApps, it's not necessarily a case to use a context variable. They're only if you need to just do something on that one screen. So a lot of the times I'll use these if I have, if I'm filling out a form or something and I want a pop-up box to come up where I'm filling out a form and submitting it, I'll just call it var pop-up, and I'll just use var pop-up on all my screens because it's not going to mess up what you're doing from one screen to another. Okay, so what I did for this other one with the white, was there anything else that I'm missing that's going on? They think this is amazing? Or everybody's done now. They're like, okay, we learned it. We're gone. A lot of pancakes and waffle jokes. That's fun. No, it won't still be true when you come back. That is a good question. So that's why in the onVisible property, so that's another thing that I did. So in the onVisible property, I change it to false. I make sure that it starts off as false. But what I did on these other ones is also, let me go to the screen property, onVisible, on hidden. So on hidden means when somebody leaves that screen. So I'm also going to go to the on hidden and reset it to false so that I'm going to make sure that it just sets it back to false as soon as I leave as well. So that's something you can do just to make sure that it's going to never be automatically open when you arrive on that screen. Okay. All right, so this one, the button's white. Here's how I did that. The little extra piece that I did on this one is a little label, or a little rectangle that I put on here. So the rectangles it's under icons, but all of your shapes are down here at the bottom and under icons. So that's where I got the rectangle. So I put a rectangle on here. And the fill color is basically going to change. So for my fill color, so what I'm doing is I'm just looking again for all these fill colors that I'm doing. I'm looking to see the value of that CTX waffle open variable. So I don't even have to say, since it's a Boolean variable, I don't have to say if CTX waffle open equals true, do this. I can just say, since the variable itself is true or false, I can just say if, and then just put the variable here. And just if because that the value of that is true or false. So if it is true or false, basically if it is true, I want it to be white. So true means it's showing. Otherwise, I want to, and then I'm just pointing to this little reference here. I'm pointing to the fill color of this little bar up at the top, up across the top of the screen, this blue thing. So I just basically want it to be, if I click on it, I want it to turn white. Otherwise, I just want it to be whatever color this top bar is. So it's just showing you how you can do a reference from one control to another for that color property. And then I'm also, for my Waffle, the Waffle icon itself, I'm doing a fill. And I didn't do a lot of different hover fills and different hover fills for the Waffle menu and for all the, I didn't spend a lot of time doing that, but those are all properties that you can tweak and make things look really nice and slick by just, changing all those properties and colors. Okay, so the fill color for this icon is just clear. That's the background behind whatever the little picture is. So then the color for an icon, so this is kind of tricky. So when you're dealing with like a text box or a button, color is the color of the text. It doesn't say that, it doesn't say text color, it's just color. But color is the color of the text. But with an icon, color is the color of whatever the little icon is in the middle. So same concept. If CTX Waffle Open is true, then show it basically this blue color, the color of this rectangle. Otherwise, show it as white. So that's the opposite color of this label. So the label is showing it as white or blue. This one is showing it as blue or white. So it just toggles its color. And then what I did for all these buttons, of course, each button in the on select, it's navigating you to something. But in the fill color for the buttons, I'm just going to tell it, I'm just being lazy. I'm just going to tell it to be whatever the background, the fill color is of this rectangle. So this is my rectangle white blank right here. That's what I called it. So I'm just telling all my buttons, I just selected them all, and I just said, fill color just be whatever color that rectangle is. So I didn't have to do a formula in all the different places. So, okay, so now actually I think I have, let's see, is it going to navigate me to the third option? Now I'm on the container menu screen, and we did a whole power hour about this concept of containers and Power Apps, and I put a link to that in the little resources section in the posts. Before I move on to containers, was there anything else? No. Oh, fellow programmer. I'm not a programmer. Maybe they're talking to somebody else. They're having a programmer discussion about variables. Okay, so the container concept, let me go ahead and click this and get my container showing again, is, again, we did a whole power hour talking about the concept of a container, but a container gives you a nice way, easy way to add a bunch of, you can just add a bunch of buttons into it. Like I can keep clicking button in here, and you can set settings that'll set what you want the sizes to be, and what if you want them to wrap, and if you want them to just kind of how they're oriented with each other in here. I'm going to delete those new ones I added. And it kind of automatically lines them up. So it saves the time you might have spent in situating the menu items to look a certain way, and these will kind of automatically just align themselves in a more responsive way. So you can set your orientation to vertical or horizontal, and you can change your justify behavior. You can make it the whole buttons justify in the little container itself. And then you have alignment in the container as well. So if I had maybe a menu showing a Waffle menu over on the right side of my app, I might want to right align those. And then you have your gap in between them, horizontal overflow, whether you want it to hide or scroll. And then your wrap is, I turned the wrap on so they would wrap to the next row like that. And then you have things that you can do with each individual button inside of the container. So you can, of course, give it some text. Each button has a separate on select, just like in the buttons I showed you a minute ago. And you would just tell it exactly which screen you want each one to navigate to. And then it's got align in container. You can align these all in different ways if you want to, or you could just say set by container. You can give them a flexible height or not. So if you give it a flexible height, it will fill itself up to the rest of the container. So if you want all your menu items to all automatically fill up the whole container, that's one thing you can do. So yeah, any questions about containers? And then what I did for the container is just in all of these menu items that are appearing, except for the animation one, it's just the visible property is just the Boolean, because visible is a Boolean property. It's either visible or not, true or false, and this is a Boolean variable, so you just put the name of the variable in there. All right, let's see. Fun stuff. Okay, now let's go to the next. So that was 3 different ones. Let's go to oh, I didn't set these to do anything, to go anywhere. We'll just go to the next one. That was the container menu. Let's go to the gallery menu. This one's my favorite because you can, the items and the place that you're navigating to can be set up in a central location, and just you can use that same set of gallery items in across all of your screens in your app. So you could just take this whole gallery and the Waffle menu and just copy and paste it to all of your screens, or each time you create a screen you could just duplicate the screen once you get it all set up to create all your other screens, and then you can change what your menu items are from a central place. So the way I did this was, let's see, let's test it too. Yep, it navigated me to the dark button screen. So now I'm back on anyway, let me go back to it. So I inserted a gallery, get it to show again. And this gallery has got a collection in it. So I'm using a collection. Now I want to point out that in a previous Power Hour we talked about the concept of how you can do navigation, how to build navigation into a gallery using a component. And a component is something that you could take and use in multiple apps that you've created. I did a whole Power Hour about just doing navigation in a component. So you could take what you learned in that Power Hour and use that, because the only thing that I'm really doing that's magical about the Waffle menu is that it's just setting a variable when you click it. It's not anything, profound. Okay, so this is a gallery, and the items property of this gallery is a collection. And when I first open the app, that's when I have the collection being defined in the on start. Of course, I'm going to lose my voice now. Okay, in the on start, now you can make your menu items say whatever you want to. You can have the names of all of the different screens that you're going to be going to, all the different forms people are going to be filling out, or whatever you have going on in your app. That's what you'd be putting here as the menu title for each different thing, all the different places you want to be navigating people to. And then in the navigate to, so I'll just add another one. I'm just going to copy this and add another menu item. And I'll call this menu item 6. And then notice that, so when I start typing, I'm not sure why it's not doing it. Usually when I start typing the name of a screen, it actually kind of populates with, it shows me the names of some of the screens that I can pick, like screen buttons. See, it underlines it. Like as soon as I type the name of an actual screen in my app, it recognizes that that's the name of a screen. So that's all you have to do in the navigate to is type the actual name of a screen, you don't have to put quotes around it or anything, but once it sees that's the exact name, it will recognize it and put a little, kind of change its color to indicate that it knows that it recognizes the thing you typed there. Earlier when I first was typing these in, it actually kind of populated them as I was going, so it was easy. All right, so then I did menu item 6. So on start, of course, runs when your app starts, but I'm just going to, I'm doing a clear collect, so it's just going to clear it all out and populate this again. So I'm going to run my on start. And now when I go to my gallery menu, it's going to have, now it added a scroll bar since I added something to it, because I just put it in here as a certain height. So now that I've got 6 menu items, I actually have to manually went in there and changed that. Now there is a way to make it more dynamically, have a certain height according to how many items that you have in your menu. I don't think we're going to have the bandwidth in this power hour to go into that, but if you're a student in our site, we have a knowledge base that you can go to, and it has several examples of menus, not waffle menus necessarily. It doesn't have a waffle icon, but menus that are dynamic and that show a pop out according to a certain height and have sub menus and things like that. So that's in the knowledge base. Okay, so the only magical thing about this, again, is just the fact that I predefined it, and the visible property is just, it's going to show when someone clicks the button, just like all the other ones. It's the exact same thing that's happening when I click the actual waffle. And then, I love this one because you can just have that central list of what all the navigation pieces need to be, and then you don't have to go manually change anything on all the screens whenever your buttons need to change. So it's for bigger apps, that makes a big deal. If you have smaller apps, these first 2 are probably going to be just as fine for you, because it's not you're not going to have a huge amount of time consuming issues changing a bunch of screens if you only have a small app. Okay, so that is the gallery, and in the what I did in the gallery for the on select is I didn't do an on select for like the label inside of the gallery or anything. I just did the on select for the whole gallery. So I selected the whole gallery, went to the on select and did navigate. And then this is where I'm using, that's that second property that I defined, that second column that I defined when I was defining the collection, the navigate to. So I just say navigate to what this item dot navigate to. So then it doesn't matter whichever one I happen to click on, that's how it knows that's where it needs to navigate to. All right. What is going on, people? Let's see. Does the collection concept only work with a gallery menu? Yeah, you can't do a collection. Yeah, you can't do a collection with a button, or unfortunately, you can't do it with the container concept. So you might be able to do it with the animation. So maybe we'll try and combine those together. Let's see if we can do that. Can you block one of the menu items based on the logged in user when it's a gallery menu? Ooh. It's a gallery menu. Yeah, you can definitely do it when it's a button, but if it's a gallery menu, so what you would do for a gallery, if it's something based on the current user, and I do this in a lot of my apps, is that sometimes you'll have in your app, you'll have certain menu items that you want to appear just for a certain audience of people. So we did a whole power hour about the concept of roles in your Power App. But so once you know your roles, you would define in the onStart, before you start doing all the collecting, define whether somebody's in a certain role. So you've established that based on the currently logged in user. And then what you do is you can do, say, if So basically somebody's considered an admin, or they're considered some certain role, then collect. So then if they're an admin, then you can do a collect, and you're going to collect a new row here, and then have it say, you know, like system settings or whatever if they're an admin, and then have them go to a certain screen that only admins can go to. So if they're a certain role, their menu is not even going to have certain things in it. So you're going to have it down here. After it collects all that main list, then you're going to do an if they're in a certain role, then collect. Not clear collect, but collect, and that's where you're going to add, you know, a certain row that you want it to collect. Does that help? All right. Yeah, that's a pretty cool concept. I'm glad you asked that. Okay. Now let's see. Let's look at the animated one. Thanks to Chris who performed this magic to make these be animated. And he put a lot of, this is what he does. So in our PowerApps knowledge base on our site at IWBinter, where all of our students can download some of these little learning apps, that's what he does, is he describes things and puts, you know, kind of notes and puts visual things on here so you can see, have it explain to you what it's doing. Let's see. Jur says, I use a column in the collection to define if a button tab is visible to all or just to admins. Oh, that's another way to do it, yeah. All right, now how did we do the animation? So let me go into here. And okay, so there's a variable called var menu state, and that is a Boolean variable. It's just basically the menu is completely, it's open or it's closed, and then it's true or false. And then the labels, you have a width property. So let's go to the width property of each label. They use this variable called var animation. So the width of that's what magically makes them go wider, is that the width itself is a variable. And then the timer control, now you're going to hide this timer control in your own app. You're not going to need to see it sitting here. You can just go to the visible property and change it to false. But this is for learning, for you to be able to see what's going on, that this is a timer control. And the timer is started and stopped with a variable called var start timer. The timer control is also set to repeat equals true and duration equals 50. So let's go look at some of this stuff. And I'm going to show you this one in a second, but we go to, it makes it start when, and var start timer is just true or false. So when it's true, the timer starts. The duration is 50, and that's in milliseconds. And repeat is true, so it just keeps repeating itself. And then that's just some like visual properties. Okay, so let's go to the on timer end. Well, let me just read through these real quick before we go into that big complicated formula. So when the menu items click, the timer will be started with var start timer being set to true. So this on select, set var start timer to true. And then on timer end, an if statement will check var menu state, and that's a Boolean, and nested if statements will check the value of var animation, and that's that big long formula I'm going to show you in a second. If the var menu state is false, which means it's closed, and var animation is less than 150, so 150, that number, that's the width that these menu items are going to become. So, you know, you could change yours to a different number, like 300 if you want them to be wider. So 150 is the number of pixels at which it stops. And then, let's see. So if it's less than 150, I was looking for something to sneeze into. Okay, sorry about that. If it's less than 150, that means it hasn't reached the end yet. So that means it's still moving. So if it's less than 150, the timer's just going to add 25. So it's just going to keep adding 25 pixels until it gets to 150. So once var animation is greater than 150, var start timer is set to false, which stops it, and the var menu state is set to true, which means it's open. So if the var menu state is true, open, and the var animation is more than 0, which means it is showing, then that way, that's how the menu is going to close. So the timer will start subtracting 25 from var animation and continue repeating, and that's how it opens and closes. So let's do that one more time. See, sound effects. So that's okay. So now let's go look at that more complex formula that was in there that does a lot of that. And that's the on timer end. Okay, if var menu state, again, true or false. So if it's true, that means the menu is showing. If the animation is greater, if var animation is greater than 0, it's going to, that means it's already open. So var menu state means it's already completely open. So this first part of the formula is if it's already open, closing it. Yeah, Ricky says I need to add a sample for the sound effect. Yep. And then, okay, so if it's already open, this is what's going to close it. It's going to set itself, var animation, to itself minus 25. So it's just making itself shorter. And then let me go into this if statement. So if it's greater than 0, it's going to subtract 25. Otherwise, it's going to set var start timer to false and set the var menu state to false. So if it's greater than 0, it's going to start shifting 25. So of course, when you do this, you could change your numbers. If you want it to go faster or slower, you can put more pixels in there to make it be different widths and different amounts of time. Okay, so then I have, so this first if statement is if the menu is already showing, var menu state is true. And then this second part of the if statement, otherwise, so this is the part that will make the menu appear. So the first part was if it's already showing, otherwise that means it's not already showing. And if the var animation is greater than 150, it's considered finished. So it's looking to see if it's finished first. And that's how it tells it, what number to stop at. And then it's going to stop. If it's not greater than 150, that's what tells it to keep increasing itself by 25 pixels. All right, so that's the explanation of the animation thing and how it works. And all the magic in that is in the on timer end that does the calculation to make it appear and disappear. Now let's see if we can do that with a gallery. Because since the gallery is sort of my favorite method because it can be dynamic, and then the animation is my other favorite method because it looks cool. So let's see, I'm going to create another new screen and combine those together. So let's see, I'm going to take, now this is the part of Power Hour. It's the last 15 minutes where I break stuff or try stuff that I've never tried before. And that's so everything I've showed you so far are things that I had planned out ahead of time and had already figured out. And now I'm going to show you something that I'm just going to kind of figure out on the fly. You never know what's going to happen. Isn't that fun? Anne says this is when the magic happens. Or not. You never know. Okay, so I'm going to just duplicate the animation screen, because that's the one with all the complexity in it. So I feel like I just need to take my my gallery and just go to the animation screen and just replace these labels with a gallery. So it would be the width of the gallery instead of the width of labels. Seems legit, right? So let me go take my gallery and make it pop out, and then copy that gallery, gal menu, and then go to my copy of my animation screen and paste it. And let's see. So this one says CTX Waffle 1 open. So I'm just using basically a different variable name on this one. So let's see, what is that variable called? My visible property. They're always true, it's just the width. So the width is var animation. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to go back to my little error. And visible is going to be true, but the width is going to be my var animation. Okay, look at that. Now, that's a little too narrow, I think. So maybe if I just change that number instead of 150 to be a different, bigger number. Let's see. I'm going to go to my this thing and go to my on timer end. You know, it's a shortcut is to just click this on timer end right here. There we go. Okay, and I'm gonna say 300 maybe. Yeah, I think that was the only place I'm setting it, maybe. Okay, let's see if what that does. No, there's going to be another spot, so that's what. Let me just make the font a little smaller so you can kind of see what's going on. There. Okay. And then I would get rid of the labels on this one. Let me close this other one so I don't mess it up accidentally. Example, animation, delete, delete, delete. Take the gallery, stick it right here. And the width is the var animation. And I'll have to go find where the place is that tells it how wide to be. Oh, look at that. I think no, I don't know how wide that is. I'm breaking it now. Look at that. So now it's like a little shorter. But yeah, so now it actually navigated me to that other screen just now when I clicked one of the menu items. So the menu items still work because I didn't have to redefine any of those menu items because I already had them centrally defined in a collection. All right, magic. Now, besides going to find the other place where that 150 number was, let's see, what questions do we have going on? Before I forget, in our little company store, so when you're a student, it's free to create a student account at iwmentor.com. When you're logged in and you go to my dashboard here, on your dashboard, it'll show you all your courses, but it'll have a link to go to our point store. So here's our little store. And I just added this PowerApps Waffle menu. I just added this morning so you can actually use your points that you earn when you're taking the classes and just be able to download this Power App if you want it. A little quick note there. Okay, let me see. Where's that 150? I don't know. Yeah, I put the 300 in that one place, but I'd have to go ask Chris where he put it. He's the animation genius in the family.
Have you ever shown the one he made? Oh gosh, what's the movie? Why am I blanking? But he made a really funny animation one time.
Oh yeah.
With what was that? What is the name of that movie?
It was Rocky Horror.
Curry. Rocky Horror. Yeah. That was funny.
Oh. Let me see if I can.
I feel like we've shown that on Power Hour.
Yeah, I think we have. We definitely have shown it in our class. Animation demo. Yeah, because we have a little section in the training for animation.
I still love that.
That's fun. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know where any other setting might be that would make that wider. Fair start timer. So when you click it, it starts the timer. And then fair start timer. I feel like it's going to be somewhere in the timer control. I don't know. Okay, well. They like it. Ricky's asking if it's on the width. Well, the width is the variable. So the width is just the name of the variable. Let me try making it like really, really, like a really large number to see if, instead of 300, make it like 500. And then reset the timer. Oh, I might have just messed with the wrong screen. No, it didn't. No, I have to go figure that out. Or maybe just close the app and restart it again. All right. So we kind of got it figured out. Any other things y'all want menus to be able to do or look like that we want to try in the next 8 minutes? You can definitely change your theme color. Oh, Ricky says, whoa, there was 150 in one of your last clicks. That's because that might have been because I was on this other version of the screen. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It might just be a matter of the timer needing to be reset or something like that. Just close the app and open it again. All this stuff is colors. That was a fun one, right? Okay, well, y'all go use your points and download your own copy. Among all these other cool, if you want someone really cool to be able to teach you all this advanced PowerApp stuff, who did this thing that I couldn't figure out just now, that's Chris. He's right here. And yeah, so we have these little auctions, and there's Joelle, and they can both help you with awesome stuff. And you can join the auction to bid for their time. Isn't that fun? All right, well, we'll let you all go. I know there's 6 minutes left, but I think we got to, unless y'all have any more questions about waffle menus. I pretty much covered the gist of it in the first like 5 minutes, I think, with the basics. But other than that, it was kind of a bonus, right? Was that easier than you all thought it was going to be? Because it seemed like a really hot topic, so I'm wondering if there was something more complex that was expected. Oh, easier than you thought it was going to be. Okay. It's just a variable. Oh, way easier. Oh, good. Okay. Awesome. Let's see. So next week, let me pull my schedule up here. Next week, we have our live online 5-day class. It is immersive, advanced Power Apps, and advanced Power Automate. And so we are not going to be having Power Hour next week. We'll be doing that. But thanks everybody for coming to Power Hour. Let me flip back over to, there we go. Thanks everybody for coming. And thanks everybody for voting. I'm glad you all learned a lot, and you probably are gone by now because you learned it within the first 5 minutes of the Power Hour. So if you're still watching, have a good afternoon, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to get up to 20,000 followers. We've got about 19,000 something, so please click subscribe below the video. Thanks so much. See y'all next time. Check out our schedule for the next Power Hour.
Bye, everybody.